Sky Rugby travels to Tasman as the Scottish side plays its second tour match against Queensland. It could be an uphill battle for the Scots after losing their opener against Northern Territories. They play a Queensland side that recently won the Super 6 series and is the dominant rugby state in Australia at present. We're Ballymore bound as we join our commentary team for more international action here on Sky Rugby.
To the fray.
The referee, Peter Marshall, whose last major appointment was the clash between New South Wales and Fiji in the Super 6 series. He looks to check with Peter Slattery, ready to blow time on, and Scotland begin their first serious challenge on this Australian tour. And it's Craig Chalmers with the short kick-off. Up went Rod McCall, and now look at the Scottish forward swarming. They're looking for ball in the opening minute of this match, and it goes away for Chalmers, and as we predicted, high ball on the fullback Petey. It's dropping inside the quarter line, but the Scottish forward offside from that particular chase, and Peter Marshall gives the first penalty of the match to the Queenslanders.
Wonderful to see the Scottish forwards, though, enthusiastic. Their whole ability is in their low driving forward. They hit the kick-off, they followed the kick from Chalmers, they've declared their hand. They don't want to finish second at Ballymore. It's 80 minutes away, but it's going to be tough. But the Scottish pack will drive in all day long.
Troy Coker lining up against Neil Edwards. They were teammates at Harlequins just a couple of years ago. There's Lillicrap at the front. The Scottish ball, first line-out win on their throw. Queensland drive over the top there to try and win it back. It was secured well by Scotland, so Simon, they'll be disappointed they don't come away with this football.
Yeah, the Queensland forwards threw the line out there very well. A lot of pressure on the Scottish pack, and here's a good high ball from Queensland 5'8".
Not taken cleanly by Hastings, but he tidied it up inside his own quarter line. Both fullbacks we tested with the high ball today. It goes back with Chalmers and doesn't gain all that much ground. Takes it about 10 metres out from the Scottish 22.
Interesting tussle in the line-out. Tommy Lawton, good thrower. Dottie Weir just really jumped well against all comers in the World Cup.
So Weir up against Fields towards the back of the line-out for the Scottish side. Front is Soul. Eels with a one-handed tap. Carl away for Coker. Coker didn't get to the advantage line, but good clean ball. They attack on the blind side with Horan. The little kick downfield, but Hastings, as cool as ever, just secures the football and drives it into touch. Well, Simon, certainly one of the great stars of World Rugby is Gavin Hastings.
Gavin Hastings, a tremendously big player for a fullback, has a tremendous ability to enter the line and also is a very, very savage defender and also a terrific player with it and a great bloke.
Well, he and his brother Scott made their debuts against France back in '86 and have played some 35 test matches in the same side. So the Bills and the Hastings, certainly some brotherly love out there this afternoon. Now that touch finder by Eddie Nicol will take it up midway between the half and the 22, but once again it will be. Well, that must have been touched in flight by a Queenslander because Scotland have the throw.
Plenty on in the middle of the line-outs. David Rod McCall being pulled out. He won a very good ball just before.
Dottie Weir with a good, secure two-headed catch. Now it comes out Scotland's way. Nicol with the diving pass to Chalmers. Well, Russell Fairfax, certainly the Scottish side giving away a fair bit in size, but they have contested very well in the opening minutes.
Yes, there's no doubting the tenacity of the Scottish side, but that's one of their, part of their makeup, part of their major makeup we expect from them. I expect this to really turn into a forward tussle, and it looks that way already.
Now, Wainwright was playing there as the acting half. Weir tidies it up, but the referee, Peter Marshall, has ruled the knock forward by Scotland.
Interesting line-up there in the line-out. They stand the half-back inside the 5 metre as the hooker. Stand a back rower right out on the 15 metre to act as the half-back to cover all the options of the short line-out from Queensland.
Now, the scrum will pack down. It's a terrific opportunity in attack for Queensland. They have an option on the short line. They are stretched deep and wide to the left. On attack. Now, Peter Slattery having trouble with the two front rows. It appears that Soul trying to pull down Crowley on this side.
Crowley performed very well against Tony Daly in the New South Wales game. Soul has worked hard on his scrummaging game so far this year. He was criticised during the World Cup, and he used to cut his jersey very short On that left-hand side, Dan Crowley, a different type of player.
Well, David Sell, of course, played against the Wallabies back in 1988 and leading the Scotland side today. 23 times he's led in international since taking over from Finlay Calder back in 89. Now Wilson attaches on the short side. Sam Scott Young was wrapped up very, very well that time by Carl Hogg. Queensland, Carl again, putting pressure on Hastings. Nicol goes back to support. It's a great kick. It's a try, Horan. Johnny on the spot was Tim Horan. And as he did against New South Wales last week, Tim Horan comes up with the first points of the match.
Yes, it's a beautiful kick here by Carl to put the Scottish fullback under immense pressure, and certainly there's a mix-up here between the two. Normally he's very safe under the high ball. Tim Horan through. Great try.
This is the perfect kick. If you were to design one or read one out of the textbook, it's to lob in the semicircle under the goalpost. The goalpost looming behind, the players coming forward. Tim Horan over.
Well, they rehearsed this move a lot. We saw him score a magnificent try on the kick, chasing the kick from Paul Carl against Auckland. He did it against Fiji. On this occasion, he didn't arrive in time to catch it on the pull. But Tim Horan goes in for his 5th try in 92 in Queensland colours after scoring against Auckland, Canterbury, Fiji and New South Wales. Paul Carl adds the extras, and so Queensland leads Scotland by 6 points to 0 here at Ballymore. So Craig Chalmers with the restart of play back on halfway. A very handy lead by Queensland. So the line out to take place just outside the Queensland 22. The long rehearsed move that time by the Scottish side, taking it forward, was Lenine. Now Nicol waiting for the ball. They move it to the right-hand side through Chalmers. A little kick over the top. That's put pressure on Carosa. And a chance. Hastings, who's come up with it? It is Stark that has scored the try. Auckland pulled a similar move. Chris Handy against Queensland on Carosa's wing. They've obviously done their homework.
They kept the ball high against Carosa and they turned him around. It was a beautifully judged kick by Chalmers. He didn't have a lot of time. Carosa had it lined up, came off his chest, missed by the first one, but Derek Stark in support crashes over in the tackle of Slattery.
Craig Chalmers, a class player and a class kick through there, and Stark, who is actually a Scottish sprint champion, was through there like a shot and through for a wonderful try.
Yes, the only uncapped player in this back line. He returned to rugby this year after a stint as a professional sprinter with the Dundee Harriers. He is a real flyer, and he's in the side today ahead of Stanger, who held down the spot during the World Cup and the Five Nations. So this prolific point scorer now, Gavin Hastings, a scorer of 384 points at international level. Moves in from out near that eastern touchline, and that is a great kick, so it's all locked up here at Ballymore at 6 apiece, and that is a tremendous reply by Scotland. Russell Fairfax, that's a sign of a very good side that can strike back.
Yes, great work there. But most surprising by Paul Carosa, the experienced player there. I know he's aiming to grab his test spot back, and that was inexcusable. He should have called the ball, made sure of it, taken it, wrapped it up and played percentage football.
It's a bit of deja vu, Jeff Miller. I remember a kick from Grant Fox on Kerwin's wing that led to a try by Auckland just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, difficult though, David. Paul was didn't have sight of the ball when it was going over the top. Always difficult to take, and full compliment to Scotland because they turned it into the try.
So this line out midway between the half and the 22. It's at Scotland's end of the ground. It's a Queensland throw through Tom Lawton. Eels is jumping at 4. McCall with a good catch at the front. And now look at this drive by the Queensland forward. Packed with that decided weight advantage, taking it up towards the attacking quarter.
This is what's going to tell this driving maul of Queensland, constantly putting the Scottish players offside. They have to go in around the back to try and stop this drive. and hence it tends to break up and then reform. Queensland will hold this on as long as possible until it goes to ground.
It's energy-sapping stuff too, Simon.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to counter, and certainly Australia does it as well as the All Blacks.
Now they come on attack again. Carl spotted the gap, but the ball has gone forward. The referee rules no advantage to Scotland and gives them the feed right under their goalpost at about 18 metres out.
Yeah, one thing we're forgetting here, I think, with the Queensland line-out, Tommy Lawton's throws are just fantastically accurate, and it's been a big help to the Queensland jumpers.
Now, Nicol has gone through the 90 degrees, so Scotland once again will have the feed. Yes, that's one of the main reasons that he was brought into the side. He is, one of his great strengths is his accuracy in that throw to the line-out, as Simon mentioned. Now it'll go away for Chalmers, onto the right foot, angling it towards that new Eastern grandstand, and that is a superb touch finder. Takes play up to within about 5 metres of the halfway line. So plenty of action in the opening minutes of this match. It's all tied up at 6 apiece. And the line out just short of halfway. The back of the line out there is Troy Coker in 7. Robert Wainwright is the number 8 for Scotland. And in the 7 jersey is Ian Smith, who played in Wollongong a couple of years ago in their local competition. There's the kick downfield. Back goes Stark. He'll probably angle it back for his fullback Hastings. Beautiful striker of the football, but on this occasion, off the side of the boot.
He's caught you out there, David. As you say, Gavin Hastings is normally an excellent kick of the ball, but certainly these early game nerves seem to be getting to him.
It's good to see Rod McCall calling himself at the front of the line-out when he's there. This time he comes further into the middle, and I'm sure they'll use Eels at the back of the line-out, trying to take the tap right from the top.
Coker at 2 goes up for another two-headed catch, so all the Queensland tall timber has come up with some superb catches so far in the opening minutes. That's against Ken Milne, or it's the prop forward, in fact, Peter Wright, who's got big shoes to fill, taking over from the injured Paul Burnell, who played right through the World Cup and 5 Nations.
As we saw last week in Sydney, Queensland really putting a lot of ride in their line-out. They've got a terrific jumper in Eels at the back of the line-out, and certainly his ability to get up that high ball at the back of the line-out from very accurate throws from Lawton to give Queensland a huge advantage.
So the scorer of 75 points for Queensland. Playing in his 17th match today in the Reds colours. He's been a terrific replacement for Michael Liner, who's had a rugby season in Italy. He'll be returning in the next couple of weeks. And over there playing with the Benetton club, but in his place has been the young Eastern Suburbs fly half Paul Carl, who was a member of the Australian under-21 side back in 1989. And today taking over the goal-kicking responsibilities of young Matthew Penny. Now Carl. It looks pretty good, but it's away. Taken by Hastings in goal. He will force it, and they'll come back for the 22 dropout.
We saw last week against New South Wales their tactics of taking the tap very quickly and varying it against Queensland to try and upset their pattern. But Scotland going back to a rather traditional restart.
High restart of play. Coker went up and was knocked forward that time by Neil Edwards. Now Nicol back for Hastings from outside his 22. That is an absolute shocker. Gee, you don't see this from Gavin Hastings too often. And he's had 2 now. That's given Queensland a great chance. Horan with a rare mistake. Well, you can go a whole season, Chris, and not see Gavin Hastings and Tim Horan make errors like that.
Well, it proves that they're only human on their day. It was a great pass by Slattery over the top. He had them cut to ribbons if it had gone to hand. It was high for Horan. He put up both hands trying to pull it in, but gee, you'd be hard put calling that a proper error in my book.
Jeff Miller with this dominance in weight and height by the Queensland side. Scotland, though, in your opinion, have contested pretty well?
Yeah, they're putting up a good fight, David. They're really trying to take it to Queensland, and they have to. They really have to take it to them early in this game to try to gain some sort of ascendancy if they can.
6 points all here at Ballymore. You're watching Rugby 92 exclusively on the 10 network. We hope that you're enjoying our coverage right around Australia this afternoon. Now, Scotland from outside their quarter line. Hastings hoisting it high. The chase is on by Lenine and also Scott Hastings, and beautifully taken by Penny. But Scotland arrived very quickly to the breakdown. Great understanding by the very experienced backs of Scotland. Now Chalmers. Good work that time by Ian Smith, keeping the ball alive for Scotland and available. It comes out. Away now for Wainwright, the big number 8. Drives it forward again. Now Nicol. Away for Hastings. Away for Stark. Looping around this time. Hastings back for Lenine. What a superb try by Scotland. That is brilliant play. And the understanding of the two Hastings brothers prominent in that movement. And Sean Lenine, who went on a rugby safari from New Zealand with Scottish parents and grandparents, finds himself in for a great try.
A super try by Scotland. Rod McCaw was caught badly in defence there. Hastings got past him, and this man has got tons of pace.
Queensland pride themselves on their defence, and it was well tested here. They were stretched wide on the short side. The ball was shifted quickly, and it was hit with pace. Lenine scoring the try wide out, but just really outstretched the Queensland defence on that occasion.
Son of a former All Black, Terry Lenine, who played 12 test matches for New Zealand back 57 through to 60, and he was here, this young fellow, as a member of the county side from New Zealand against Queensland back in 1984, and on that occasion was up against Andrew Slack, the former Wallaby captain. So he scored a superb try here today at Ballymore that has brought the crowd alive and has put Scotland in the lead for the very first time. Now Hastings from near touch. Oh, what a goal kicker. So Scotland lead by 12 points to 6 here at Ballymore after that splendid try by Lenine. So Queensland bring it back to halfway. And Russell Fairfax, fair to say this could well be the first time that Queensland has trailed in 1992.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Great understanding, but it was superb work by the forwards to give them, I think, about third or fourth phase ball. Wonderful sort of football, and we can expect more from Scotland along these lines.
So this line out, 32 metres out from the Scotland line. Well, Simon, it was a tremendous try by Scotland, and it's just what they needed.
Yeah, the fighting spirit of the Scots are not going to lie down and let Queensland beat them here today, and they're going to try everything in their capacity to beat Queensland.
Swarming defence there by Ian Smith, wrapping up Slattery, and they drive Slattery back. And there's some determined rucking going there by the Scots. Peter Marshall will give them the put in.
We spoke about their low driving forwards, and that a perfect example. Slattery caught wrong-footed, and in they came, the blue jerseys. Heads down, tails up.
Now Nicol away for Chalmers. Chalmers with the kick downfield. That will force Carrozza to turn again. And just great accuracy by Chalmers, just turning the Queensland defence around. And that's a very easy way, Chris, to gain 40 or 50 metres.
He's the expert at it, David. He's very balanced on his feet, left or right foot. Very comfortable. He's just working his forwards into a position. It's nice being comfortably worked up the try line with little or no effort.
Well, Chalmers, of course, played in the first test match for the British Lions against the Australians back in '89. In fact, that's the only one of his 27 test matches that he's opposed Australia. Now, Matthew Penny will look for touch on the far side of Ballymore. Takes play to about 8 metres inside Scotland's end of the ground.
I expect to see a few more penalties given away by the Scots in the line-out. They do concede that Queensland have a far superior line-out, so they'll be trying every trick in the book to try and upset that Reds line-out.
So Doddy Weir is in the middle of the line-out and goes to the back with Wainwright. Good play by Scotland. They attack again. The kick downfield, a good solid tackle from the 213s there, Little on Scott Hastings. Bone-jarring tackle.
Well, the kickers put Matthew Penny accidentally offside. The referee has played the touch, obviously unsighted.
Well, let's have a look at the action in this line-out. It's Edwards at 2 for Scotland. Protection there coming from Peter Wright, and then Doddy Weir at 4. And we have Wainwright towards the back of the line out. Now, Sam Scott-Young got a touch of that one for Queensland. They elect to run it again through Little. That's his first touch. Looking for the support play now. It arrived through Scott-Young. And Queensland drive it forward again. Now, there's an injured Scottish player, and they're showing a fair deal of concern for him as well.
Dan Crowley got to him quickly and rolled him over. He must be injured.
So 12 points to 6. And Russell Fairfax, that happened right in front of you.
Yes, it was an attempted tackle on Jason Little. Jason Little, the old hip into the opposition player, and he's certainly come off second best. I think he'll be okay. Bit of a shock to the head, but I'll expect he'll have it a bit tougher than that this afternoon, coming up against Horan and Little on a number of occasions.
It looks like it's Craig Chalmers, and if Chalmers does go off here, it'll be a huge blow for the Scottish team. He's a real general out there, tremendous kicker, and he's a good runner of the ball too, as we saw in Hong Kong this year playing a Barbarians game, David.
Yes, he certainly is a good player, and he played splendidly in that match, Simon.
He's having some treatment to his eye, it looks like, on the ground. There seems to be some concern over that.
Richie Dixon, the Scottish coach. He was the forwards coach of Scotland during the Five Nations. Former breakaway reserve for the Scottish side, that has played, I think, fullback wing, centre, number 8, flanker and second row, Chris, so probably in the same vein as you in your earlier days.
A rugby gypsy, a pilgrimage around the field, yeah, from half back to front row was all I could manage. Certainly didn't ever get the opportunity to play in the back row.
So Chalmers may be coming off, and that would be a cruel blow for the Scotland side. He did appear to reel out of that maul, and I suppose now either Graham Shield could come in or David Millard, but it appears that it might be Shield that'll be warming up on the touchline.
Yeah, David, I predict that Chalmers will stay on here. He looks as though he wants to stay there, and certainly he is aware of the importance of this game to Scottish rugby.
Interesting that Richie Dixon's assistant, Chris David Johnson, played against Australia here at Ballymore in 1982, a veteran of 28 Test matches. And that win that he came up with here is the only win that Scotland had in the Southern Hemisphere. That's he sitting alongside Richie Dixon at the moment.
Yeah, it was a great game for all sorts of reasons. But back here, I'm sure they'd be pleased to get away with that.
It's been a very enterprising start by the Scottish side. Certainly the underdogs going into this representative clash here at Ballymore. Now Sam Scott-Young controls it at the back of the scrum for Queensland onto the left boot of Paul Carl, and he's caught Hastings a little out of position on this occasion. But the kick goes too far, and Hastings quite content just to force it in his own in-goal and bring it back for Chalmers to restart from the quarter line.
I think, though, the result would suit Queensland. Territory, ability to apply the pressure from kickoffs and from the 22-metre dropouts. Queensland have been a bit unconvincing. They haven't been able to get the ball back into hand quickly and drive it on. Let's see if they can change that.
This time Hastings for the restart, knocked forward by Sam Scott-Young, not detected. Yes, finally the referee has got the arm out for the advantage, but no advantage forthcoming to Scotland. And he will pack the scrum down about 11 metres inside Scotland's end of the ground.
Because I think the tactics by Queensland should be to actually keep the ball much more in hand, to run it around, run this Scottish side round, because they haven't played a lot of rugby, and you know, they haven't got too much combination, so just make them run all day.
So Andy Nicol, the number 9, continuing a great family tradition. His grandfather George Ritchie was a Scottish international back in 1932, and this fellow is destined to play for many a day for Scotland, although the good news is that their World Cup halfback Gary Armstrong is back playing some light touch football and doing some general training stuff after that knee reconstruction. It's one of the many blows Scotland has suffered since that World Cup. There's a towering kick by Hastings, but he was from outside his 22. So play will come back. That goes to show the influence of that breeze, but it wasn't the result required for Gavin Hastings. It will give Queensland the throw to the line out. Scott-Young at 2. McCall at 4. Eels up against Doddy Weir at the back.
Queensland 5-man line out, bearing it again.
Eels back now for Dan Crowley. He makes the ball available well for Slattery. Carl, Horan, cuts out Penny. got it away to Little. Little tries to beat the defence on the outside. Back for Finney. He sets it again. Now they drive forward. Well, penalty going to Scotland. Hands in the ruck by the Queensland side.
Well, David Wilson did very well there in support to the Queensland backline. Unfortunately, the Reds pack didn't get there quick enough to drive over him and get the ball back for what would have been a very dangerous situation for the Scottish team.
The Scottish defence did very well, didn't it, Puto? It isolated Queensland on the far side because they were exposed on the open. They had very few backs. They had a couple of big front rowers in their backs, and had it been able to come back this way, they'd have been in trouble.
Yeah, I've been surprised by the mobility and fitness of this Scottish side, considering they haven't lobbed in Australia that long ago and have come from virtually a standing start in Scotland.
Well, they lead at the moment by 12 points to 6. We're past the halfway mark of the first half. Around about 18 minutes of play remaining here in the first 40 at Ballymore. Lawton's ball to the line out. Good catch again by Rod McCall. He's got that great ability, Chris, to take the pressure off John Eales.
That's working a good double play. You don't see Rod cool himself much, but obviously he feels very strong against his opposite jumper in Neil Edwards. Is calling the ball that quick flat throw with Tommy hitting him. He's going forward to it and moving it away from the line out quickly.
Scrum going through the 90 degrees again, so it will pack down about 10 metres out from the Scottish 22. Fed by Nicol. Nicol once again. Well, there's certainly some problems with that front row, Chris.
They're struggling, I think, from the sideline. Even Russell Fairfax, a fullback, has been noticing that Scotland are doing it tougher and tougher scrum by scrum.
Yeah, they certainly are. There's no doubt about that. The longer this game goes, the more pressure they're going to be under. They haven't played for almost 6 to 8 weeks, a lot of these forwards, and the finely tuned Queensland side will certainly test them.
Come on, Scotland! This line out midway between the half, the 22, Scotland's end of the ground. They lead by 12 to 6. They've scored 2 splendid tries in the opening half, after being down by 6 to 0. Now Lillicrap swept well. You can see the power of this Queensland forward as they go forward. Now that's a good play coming back in, but it was well read as Smith came back to reverse the angle. But the defence in midfield was splendid by the Scottish side. Now Slattery. Little. Oh, that's a shocker from Jason Little. So it just goes to show, Simon, even the very best can suffer from a few nerves from time to time.
Yeah, I hope Jason and Timmy haven't been reading too much from press last week because they're getting plenty.
I think they'll be getting some stick out there for their photographs with their torso nude in the kilts in this morning paper.
Now Nicol drives forward, a la Peter Slattery last week against New South Wales. He takes play beyond the halfway line. Tukalo is in there as the acting half. And they've got the put in Scotland right on halfway.
And Rod McCall, the old experienced forward, lurking around the side there, trapping the ball so the Scots couldn't get it out.
Feel the power in that front row. Good strike by Milne. And again, the collapsing of the scrum by Queensland. There's a fair deal of pack weight in there, Jeff Miller. You can nearly feel it from your position on the sideline.
Yeah, there's a big thud when they come together, David. That's right. Queensland just putting enormous pressure on the Scots, and unfortunately the penalty's gone the other way.
This sometimes makes a little ass of the law, the side with the advantage. Supposed to not keep it on. David Sull struggling with Dan Crowley. Can't keep his feet, giving ground.
Free kick to Scotland to be taken by Hastings. And with very little angle, that is a great touch find. It takes play inside the attacking quarter. Now, under the new rule that will be introduced to the new law in June of this year, under this situation, Simon, it would be Scotland who would retain the throw to the line-out.
Yeah, it certainly puts a new dimension into the game, and certainly from what I hear in South Africa, where they are playing the rules now, it's going particularly well.
Now Lawton with the throw for Queensland. Timed it to perfection, but it's been spoiled by Scotland through Weir. What a superb kick from Peter Slattery. There was absolutely no angle there, Russell Fairfax.
Yeah, wonderful kick, wonderful. No wonder he's the captain of this side, the most capped Queenslander out there. He's leading his sides particularly well. And a couple of times, though, I have noticed that he is concerned that his forwards aren't getting the job done. They seem to be taking things a little bit too easy. He's asking them to get back to the side that made them the great side that they are this year.
Now, Milne with the throw to the line out as Slattery looks on. Dottie Weir with a bit of help. Takes a two-handed catch at the front. Number 6 there is Hogg. Working overtime, the tight head prop Peter Wright in number 3. Now the ball is available for Scotland. Chalmers away for Hastings, and he's got Dropsy in midfield. It's been picked up by the ever-alert Wilson. Now Carosa can't get away from Wainwright, and finally Stark came back to clean it up. But terrific play. Being an old back rower, Simon, you would appreciate the effort of David Wilson.
David Wilson did very well here, and Carosa, who looks as though he's going to get away here, Wainwright does very well to pull him down, and Stark in there to intercept the ball. Killer movement.
Scrum feed Queensland, and with the referee Peter Marshall having just a little bit of problem out there at the moment.
Chris, I think that Tommy Lawton will be feeling particularly good about this scrum the way it's going at the present time.
They're really testing out the Scots, Simon. They've gone back to the old stage of hitting and then fading, trying to pull the Queensland fear back, pulling them forward in the contact. And it is unsettling the Queensland side, but they won't go away.
12 minutes to half-time here at Ballymore. The Scots lead by 12-6. Now the extra drive put on by Queensland. You can see the ball at the feet of Sam Scott-Young. But Scotland holding it pretty well, although the scrum is under pressure. You can feel the squeaks in the hinges at the moment. Now Peeney came in beautifully. The kick is not a good one. Picked up by Carl, laid it back for Slattery. And Slattery taken to the tackle inside the attacking quarter. And not releasing the football, playing it off the ground was Peter Slattery.
Well, that was a good penalty that time. Peter Marshall doing a good job of the game. Marching Slattery another 10 metres. Peter Slattery got caught awkwardly and tried to get up and get the ball out from underneath him and suffered the penalty.
Now Peeney with a long pass across field for Horan. He changes the point of attack again. Look at the skills of this young fellow. Good reply by Queensland. And you can see he's made the ball available again. Slattery away for Carl. Angling kick to that far side. The chase is on with Carosa. Back goes Stark, one of the paciest men in World Rugby, for Gavin Hastings. And the composure there by the Scottish fullback takes play up towards the quarter line.
It's hard to work out what's going with Gavin Hastings with these kicks. He's normally a superb kicker. I don't know if he's finding a problem with the balls, but they've been absolutely atrocious, putting Scotland under tremendous pressure.
Well, I don't know whether it is or not. He is trying Edwards receives some attention. He is wearing new boots out there, although he had a kick with them here yesterday and was very happy the way he struck the ball with a new pair of boots here yesterday afternoon.
Well, I'd be happy with McGull kicking form. He just doesn't seem to clear it, and occasionally that happens with Gavin Hastings. He runs into a bit of a bad patch.
Now Carl, away for Little. Again, Queensland quick to the breakdown. Switch of play again, Carl. Away for Big Troy Coker. Away for Carosa. But the defence is excellent. Dottie Weir got across there, so too did Stark. So they read that move very, very well. Now back for Hastings. And into touch on the 22.
Scottish thieves in there. They got that ball from Queensland. It was on the Queensland side, but the hands popped across and snuck it away back to the Scottish side.
Gavin Hastings, 40 test matches to his credit. Scored 15 points in that British Lions win over Australia in the third test back in '89. Just a prolific point scorer. Now, again, Queensland rolling it magnificently. Untidy play, though, picked up by Slattery. Good play by Carl, who arrived. He was the straight runner. hit the ball at pace. Now Eels, the big second rower, decides to have a run, and he copped one very high as he lunged forward. Scotland trying to work the possession. It goes away for Jason Little. Midfield defence is there. Back for Slattery. Again, they'll be looking for quick ball here. Carl is the acting halfback. Little and Horan to his right. Horan to the step. Support play of Penny. Third phase by Queensland. Now Lawton, they drive it forward again. This is good play by Sam Scott-Young. They arrive in numbers, Queensland, and Scotland under enormous pressure. That is terrific play, Chris.
It is terrific play. I think Peter Marshall allowing the Scots to fold in around the ball. On a couple of those phases, they've collapsed in around the ball, and it's making it difficult to get it out. The Scottish defence has been superb. Out wide when they've been tested by Carosa, and in close when they've punched back. They've kept Horan and Little very quiet, and we're 6 minutes before the first half ends, and they've done very well.
So it's 12 points to 6 here at Ballymore in favour of Queensland, of Scotland.
Johnny Eels thought he was playing similar sort out there. Oh no. 30-second break.
Now the scrum packs down. Queensland, of course,
That's good.
would be would have in their minds a pushover try. So I just wonder whether the pushover try is on the Queensland pack's mind at the moment. Scotland have made sure that's not going to happen on this put-in.
They're taking the scrum very low, and that's the tactic. Take it that low that the slightest movement takes it to ground.
They try to wheel at Scotland. Now Sam Scott-Young controlling it. Now it's gone through the 90. So the scrum feed again to Queensland.
For those that don't know, a scrum that wheels through an angle more than 90 degrees must be repacked by the referee. So Queensland, if they win this ball, will have to keep the straight through push on Scotland if they're to use it.
Now it's collapsed again on this side. We saw New South Wales subjected to this on 3 or 4 occasions before a try resulted last week, Simon, against New South Wales.
Yeah,
Kenny Mills
the
slow to his feet.
the Reds will be relentless here.
Well, finally, it's against Queensland for collapsing. It's very Dan Crowley.
Very hard to imagine. Crowley's still on his feet, and Sol has been struggling through the last half a dozen scrums. I don't think it's Sol necessarily. I think it's the second row push behind him. He seems to be splitting away and doesn't seem to be getting the power from behind him.
Relieving penalty kick by Gavin Hastings takes play outside the quarter.
Queensland again opting for the short line out here. They'll utilise the skills of John Eales, I'm sure, at the back of the line out here.
So it's Weir and Edwards up against Eales and McCall. Now isolated was Slattery. Scotland will get the feed.
Yeah, these Scottish defenders just keep on coming, and that was terrific work then to get through Wainwright, who's having a great game. Through again for another good tackle.
Again, that scrum going through that 90 degrees, so the referee must pack the scrum again. Nickel away for Hastings, on this time onto the left foot. Driving play downfield. Penny thought about the quick throw in, but with the arrival there of Ian Smith, he changed his mind very quickly. In fact, it was Tukalo who led the chase upfield. Well, we haven't seen him with the football in his hands yet, Jeff Miller. Ivan Tukalo, one of the flyers of World Rugby.
No, it's a shame, David, but that's the way that the game has gone. It's been very much a forward struggle, and the Scots really haven't had a chance to get it to their backs.
Infringement of the line out there by Scotland, so the penalty will go to Queensland.
Yeah, Peter Marshall, aware of the Scots coming off the shoulder of the Queensland jumpers there. He's caught them twice today, and I think there'll be more.
So Paul Carl will look for touch on this commentary side of the famous Ballymore ground here in Brisbane, and takes play to within about 12 metres of the quarter line. Ken Milne with the throw to the line out. Made his debut against Wales alongside his brother Ian, and when you think that Ian Milne and Burnell are not in this side, as well as that talented back row, really it's a problem for Scotland to overcome, to lose two tight forwards, Chris, and three excellent loose forwards all in one hit.
A tough call, but they did show in their first outing against England, though they lost the game, that they hadn't lost anything in the Scottish spirit. They drove hard, they tackled well, and they're doing it here against Queensland. Queensland haven't just been able to break through. They've had a lot of ball from the line out. They haven't been able to use it as comfortably out wide as they'd have liked. And the Scots get a points decision in this first half.
Now Lawton to the front for Rod McCall. Good two-handed catch again by McCall. Again, the timing of that throw-in by Lawton was crucial. Now they roll it again. Queensland, as they move it up towards the halfway line. They're 10 metres short of halfway. That's putting enormous pressure on this Scottish pack. In there working hard is Ian Smith. Now he detaches and they come back against Scotland. 6-point lead by the Scots over Queensland. Now Sam Scott Young breaks clear, but he's been isolated. Again, we see Queensland arrive very quick to the breakdown. They get the ball through Little, out with Horan. Horan has the flying Smith on his outside. That's a terrific tackle from Tukalo and also from Ladine. Now it's become available with Edwards. In fact, it's Ken Milne that toes the ball downfield, showing very, very good skills. Russell Fairfax for a hooker.
Yeah, wonderful skills there. The Queensland side very slow to the breakdown, though. They're taking too much for granted. They've got to get back, be hungry, and they can get there.
Ken Milne will be out of the Hookers Club with that kick. It stayed in and then roll out, so they've got the line out. Terrific kick.
Line-outs favouring Queensland by 15-7. Interesting one that Scotland have won 2 out of 2 on their long throws today. Penalty now to Queensland once again by Scotland, going over the top. And just looking at the two fly halves, Simon, interesting to know that Carl has elected to pass on 8 of the 15 occasions. But Scots have had a totally different attitude.
Yeah, certainly Craig Chalmers kicking the ball 6 and passing it once, as predicted when we got together for the game. Chalmers really playing to use the pressure on the Queensland fullback, Penny, after his performances recently.
Well, Matthew Penny, that time a good confidence booster for him, a great touch finder. Play on the quarter line. It's a Scotland throw. This young fellow's been in outstanding form in general play, but he's struggled a bit with his goal kicking and line kicking in 92. And today, Paul Carl is the man that's assumed that responsibility. He has a 50% record this afternoon. Now, Nickel away for Chalmers. Tukalo onto the left foot. Taken well by Smith. Now, will he put it high? He takes on the defence and did it well. Took it beyond the quarter line. Brave play by the Queensland winger. I would say, Chris, 9 out of 10 would have hoisted the ball high.
There's no doubt about that. Given the same option, a 9 out of 10 would certainly have gone high with the ball and chased the soft one. Put his head down and went for it.
Attempted drop goal by Paul Carl is a beauty. It's his second drop goal of the year. And Queensland come back to within 3 points. Paul Carl with his drop goal sees Scotland lead by 12 points to 9, right on half-time. So his timing was to perfection. Paul Carl has been looking at the clock, and in the dying seconds brings Queensland to within 3 points of Scotland. Half-time score, Scotland 12, Queensland 9. Now let's go touchline to Jeff Miller and Russell Fairfax, who've been in both camps.
Yes, David, John Connolly feels that the Queensland side has made far too many unforced errors, that he feels that they've made more in this first half than they've made all season. He wants them to use the wind and play field position.
In the other camp, David Soul delivered all the pressure out there to his side. He said they'd handle the mental pressure, though, and they'd shown Queensland that they were capable. They are very confident in this second half. They are going to lift their tempo in the first 20 minutes and then go in 20-minute spurts. So they're looking to do that. They have emphasised the fact that their defence must be spot on, and that's what they're working about, their defence. But they really think they can do it, and they're very confident in this second half.
Simon, of course, Queensland will run with the breeze in the second half.
Yeah, and certainly in the ruck and maul count so far, the Queensland side have dominated 15 to 13, but that's not a huge margin at all, and certainly the Scots have been stealing plenty of the Queensland ball.
And Chris, we spoke earlier about the attitudes of both fly halves.
Yes, well, the two fly halves, Paul Carl getting far more of the ball, the Queensland team for the first time giving him 16 possessions, and he's varying his play, whereas Craig Chalmers is using that kick as his major option in his 8 possessions.
So Queensland just outside the attacking quarter line. The Scottish backs up very flat in defence. In fact, Peter Marshall's had a very close look at them at the moment, because in fact at this stage they are in an offside position. Now the roll put on by Queensland, a very effective one as well. They have marched the Scots back inside their own quarter line. You can see them now wheeling it again to the left. Great ball control by the Queensland forwards. And finally they will get the foot into the scrum. Just trying to put the Scottish side back on the back foot in the early minutes of the first half.
Yes, Russell mentioned at half-time that David Soul had the Scottish side whipped up for the second half, but Queensland playing at home, they're going to come out hard this second half, and Scotland are going to do it tough.
Connolly's been very critical of them at half-time by those comments from Jeff Miller. He's not one to mince his words, and that mistake rate would be concerning Queensland.
Scotland have scored 2 tries to 1 so far in this match. Early stages of the second half, and Scotland lead by 12 points to 9. Oh, bit of a clash there between the two number 7s. Ian Smith getting a good elbow from Troy Coker, and again we see Queensland with this fabulous control. Sam Scott-Young leads it, certainly playing for a spot on the side of the scrum for Australia. Loose on the ground, Scotland under pressure with Wainwright. But it's been knocked forward by Scotland.
This is the sort of pressure that Scotland aren't under often. This rolling, constant, driving pressure from forwards on their feet. And most teams in the Five Nations put the ball down and move it to the back quickly and use the 5-8 kicking. But Queensland know that they have that strength up front, that weight advantage, and they're just keen to just grind the Scots back towards their try line.
Now watch for Sam Scott-Young at the back of this scrum. Controlling. Now it becomes available for Slattery. Away for Horan. Beautiful ball. Now it's been picked up by Smith. He did brilliantly. Damien Smith. Now Queensland arrive. Slattery calling for it. He can see it. They drive it forward, Queensland. And hands again by Scotland. And we may have an injured player as well.
You can actually still see the Scottish hands on the ball at the bottom. It was rather desperation. Smith coming off a ball that was supposed to be taken by Sam Scott-Young at the back of the scrum. But as he went to ground, he let it go to the back line. And this ball just popped up for him. The sympathetic pass, they call it. But he took it and he went as far as he can. He tucked around the ball, not holding onto it, but just tucking into it. And the Scots, once they picked it up and then went to ground themselves, were in a position, in a tackled position. Advantage looked for by Peter Marshall, but not coming.
I think the injured player may be Gavin Hastings. But one thing, Russell Fairfax, that has impressed me about Damien Smith, he made a couple of errors last week against New South Wales. He was determined to come back. He's shown great determination in his running today.
Yeah, he certainly is. A long loping runner. Takes some time to build up, but once he gets motoring, he certainly has some power. I can tell you, it doesn't look good for Gavin Hastings, though. They're calling for a replacement there, and I think that he will be replaced.
Okay, well, we'll take a break as Ken Logan warms up on the touchline. We'll be back here at Ballymore in just a moment. Well, the replacement player there, Ken Logan, equally at home at wing or full back. It's his big moment here at Ballymore. That's a tragedy for Scotland, though. I'd say they're working overtime. Hopefully that Gavin Hastings, a pretty tough man, will want to stay on the field here this afternoon. So words of advice from Hastings' brother Scott. So a head injury there for Gavin Hastings. Obviously copped a knee, I would say, as Damien Smith went towards the try line. And he went low. He may have got a boot. Yes, it looks as though he did get an accidental boot in the head. He reels away there. But I'd say it's probably only he could have also injured an ankle. Well, that really will be tragedy for Scotland if that is a major problem for Gavin Hastings.
Yeah, Hastings an integral part of this Scottish team. A bit unlucky in that clash. His head's obviously hit Smith's boot. Also, too, the way the ankles have been strapped there. He's got some ankle problems as well.
So Ken Logan, the 20-year-old, uncapped. He played for the Scotland under-19s against the Australian school side back in 1991. But a second sorry sight, Russell. Fairfax is Gavin Hastings, and he's such a popular player around the world. Nobody would like to see that.
You're certainly right there, David, and it's not going to do a great deal of confidence for Scotland either. He was the man at the back that was keeping them solid. He was urging, he was convincing that they could do the job. Without him, there's no voice coming from the back, and sometimes you lose your way. They will really miss this man.
So Paul Carl will be putting, hopefully, extras on the board for Queensland to bring scores back level here at Ballymore. He, so far for the Queensland side, has, I think, kicked on 3 occasions. In the first match against Canterbury, he came on as a second stringer. He also kicked in one of the matches on the New Zealand tour. Ball comes off the mound. About 8 minutes of play gone in the second half, and a cruel blow for Scotland with the loss of their 40-test veteran Gavin Hastings. Now Paul Carl, it's only about 10 metres out, and just a couple of metres to the left of the uprights. He moves in, and he's brought Queensland back on level terms. His second penalty goal. He's also kicked the field goal. And of course, if you're watching rugby around Australia and enjoying it on Network 10, don't forget the monthly subscriptions to Rugby magazine in Australia. It certainly is a great periodical. The subscription number there is right there in front of you, and feel free to subscribe to one of the great magazines to bring you up to date with all the news, both home and abroad. So Chalmers with the restart of play. Back now, tidied up by Wilson. Now Carl from outside his quarter line. What a confidence booster for young Ken Logan. And his kick finds touch. So, Chris, if you want a young fella to do the job, and he comes out like that, I'm sure that coach Richie Dixon would be elated at the composure of the youngster from Stirling County.
Yeah, well, it is a strange time to run on for your team under those circumstances, but it's all you can ask. Good positive display. Like to see the Scots get a bit more ball. Queensland dominating the lineouts.
Another win there by McCall at the front, but it's been rushed over the touchline by Slattery, who was always under pressure of Ken Milne.
Problem for Queensland there. Tommy Lawton needs to knuckle down on the Scottish hooker. He's just getting there every time and making life a nightmare for Slattery.
Cat and mouse at the moment with Slattery losing his boot. Now Milne throwing the ball into the line out. Good work by John Eales. Terrific play by Eales. Takes play over halfway. Now McCall. Great support by his second-row partner. Driving it forward is Lillicrap. That's better play by Queensland. They are starting to stamp their authority on this match up front. And now they've marched Scotland back some 20 or 30 metres. Now the big thing is not to overplay it here now. Their backs are lined out deep in attack. And in fact they've lost the possession of the football.
Possession loss came because Sam Scott Young picked it up once too often. It should have laid back to Peter Slattery, and he went one out. Good driving maul stuff means having somebody going with you. And when he went one out, he ended up getting hit by that Scottish defence.
Andy Nicol with the scrum feed. 11 metres inside his end of the ground. He'll go away with Chalmers. Hoisting it high. Penny had slipped over, but it goes out towards Smith's wing. He's knocked it forward. A chance now. Smith got it away. This is the man I've been waiting to see, but he's been mown down by Timmy Horan. Did very well to get to his feet. He got it back to Chalmers, and now Scotland try to secure it inside the attacking quarter. Tremendous pace by Horan in cover defence. Well, it's been, rule knocked forward by by Scotland. So Queensland will have the put in. But I've been waiting to see Tukalo get in the clear, Simon. But what about the pace and cover of Tim Horan?
Oh, tragedy for the Scots here. Just that one knock on. Out the ball comes. Actually, the ball went forward. And yeah, Tim Horan, what pace this man's got.
So Queensland with the scrum feed. They'll try and feed it back for Penny or Carl. Carl with the better angle. But he's kicked to the open wing. Now, fortunately for Queensland, the ball's got the bounce. Rolling ball down towards Logan. And he did well again. No other option there at all for the Scottish fullback. Queensland dominating the line-outs 19-8. But, Jeff, we come to expect that before this match started, that Queensland would gain that ascendancy.
Yes, and Rod McCall has been outstanding today. I'd like to know the number of two-handed catches he's been able to bring down.
McCall jumping at 2 against Edwards at the moment. Eels in the middle against Dottie Weir. They're having a great tussle. And, of course, Troy Coker at the back with Wainwright. Plenty of options in this Queensland line-out. And the referee, Peter Marshall, wants them separated, those two lines. And immediately Wallace moved back into Wright moved back into space.
There's a classic situation there. Peter Marshall did the right thing, spread the players apart there. As soon as he walked out, bang, they're back in there again.
Great work there from the top by Eels, but the ball like in a pinball machine, bouncing around.
Just wonder whether Sam Scott-Young may opt to attack on Stark's wing here. They have quite a bit of room to move on this short side.
It all depends on whether this scrum of Queensland's is going forward at the pickup.
The Stark is very, very flat. It appears that light rain may be tumbling, much to the displeasure of Jeff Miller and Russell Fairfax on the sideline. Penalty to Queensland. No doubt, Russ, you're well rugged up with those dryers of bones.
Yeah, without these dryers of bones, we'd certainly be getting wet, but it's going to come in fairly heavy sometime in the next 2 or 3 minutes, and whichever side's in the lead will certainly be advantaged by the weather. But I'm looking for Queensland certainly to go for a field goal or aim for a 4-pointer. That will be just the medicine they need with the weather about to change.
Well, if Queensland or if Australia were looking for a performance from a 5'8", Paul Carl's produced a very thought-provoking one today with goal-kicking, field goals, and also his kicking in general play has been good, particularly that touch finder getting them down close.
Yes, a probing kick by Carl has taken them to about 8 metres of the try line. And you can see there in the background that magnificent new stand on the eastern side here at Ballymore. That will be filled to the rafters. In fact, yesterday ticket sales went on. $55,000 worth of ticket sales for the new stand for the tests against Scotland and also against the New Zealand All Blacks.
Rod McCall quite astounded by the referee's decision. He got him for going across the line before the ball had left the hooker's hand.
Yeah, both McCall and Dottie Weir. It's been a strategy both have used today, and it's been good line-out throwing by both hookers. Give them good ball there. And likewise, I agree with Chris that McCall confused by that decision.
So once again, we have McCall at 2, Eels at 4. Coker at the back. Throw by Lawton. Goes to McCall, and another great two-handed catch. Carl, Horan, Little. Oh, Jason Little, great skill to the quarter line. Queensland arrive again in numbers. Slattery. And offside, Scotland. Peter Marshall, very, very well did he apply the advantage law on that occasion.
Derek Stark, not only offside, but the tackle too, or high. The Queensland player. And he looked at the referee, knew straight away he's in trouble.
The defence of the Scottish backs, though, particularly inside on Tim Horan, has been great. Sean Lenine moving up very quickly and making sure that he doesn't come back inside.
Well, the Scottish pairing in the centres of Hastings and Lenine, they're most experienced in current rugby at the moment. They've been together now on 26 occasions, which overhaul the tally by Mike Kiernan and Brendan Mullen, the Irish centres, as we see Richie Dixon looking on. The Scottish coach taking over from the World Cup coach Ian McGeechan, who guided Scotland to that Grand Slam in 1990. So Paul Carl with the ball placed about 24 metres out, 15 metres in from touch on the McLean stand side of Ballymore, and the rain starting to come in. The breeze still firmly at the back of Paul Carl. A conversion, a penalty goal and a drop goal for Paul Carl. But he's hooked it away to the right, taken by Hastings, and he will be quite content to force it in goal. No change to the score. 12 all here at Ballymore. Chalmers with the restart of play. Scotland, of course, running into the breeze in the second half. They lead by 12-9 at half-time. Again, Chris, Queensland still struggle to secure the football from these restarts of play.
They do. The Scots come on around the edges. It's good play by them to wait for that ball that's tapped down that immediately means that they're onside. And they've been really able to disturb that Queensland flow at that stage.
So they have Tim Horan secured well and truly in that defensive situation at the moment. No chance of the ball coming out. Horan took it in, but Scotland will get the feed.
I think the Scots who read the paper this morning, they're giving Timmy Horan a few quiet reminders of a little drive they had at the Scottish side in the paper.
Now Tim Horan, described during the week as arguably the greatest centre three-quarter in the world at the moment, and in some people's minds, one of the best footballers in the world. Wainwright cleaning it up the back of the scrum and getting good work up, but he's lost it forward. No advantage to Queensland. They'll get the scrum feed again, just short of halfway.
John Connolly during the week been working on the reaction time of the Queensland side. At time there was a ball spilt forward by Wainwright out of a awkward situation, and they let it pass. So they need to respond to it quicker.
Now Sam Scott Young, Petey came in the line beautifully, he read it well. The kick forward now for Smith, and Logan just must have managed to get that into touch. Well, in fact, he didn't touch it because Scotland have maintained the throw.
Bit of a strange decision by Penny there with Damien Smith. He's such a big, hard runner. I think he's feeding the ball to him. Let him crunch down that sideline.
And stay inside for the ball back if it comes.
Penny Mill to feed the scrum. Number 7 at the back is Ian Smith. Made his debut against England this year in the Five Nations. Has played 3 internationals against England, Ireland and Wales. Now this has given Queensland a terrific opportunity. No ground gain from that kick. It's a Queensland throw. Coker goes to the front of the line out. Eales is at the back. And we may see the big front rower Cameron Lillicrap sweeping here with Eales jumping at the back of the line out. Untidy ball by Queensland. In fact, they've lost it. And that kick from Nicol takes play outside the quarter line. They would have been expecting to do better there, Simon.
Yes, Queensland, I think they should be using that ball towards the back of the line out there. That's where they're getting a real advantage out of the Scottish side. And the Scottish side towards the middle and the front, they've got men flying through there everywhere.
So Tom Lawton waiting for the calls now from halfback Slattery. That's Eales at number 5 and McCall at 4. Again, Captain Slaughter, they call him Rod McCall, secured good ball again for Queensland. In there working is David Wilson at 6. He'll roll this now. They've wheeled it. Good quality secured ball by Queensland. And Scotland are under pressure. Now it's Coker's turn. Coming in offside was Carl Hogg, the number 6 for Scotland.
That a fairly clear decision for the referee. Must be bound onto that ruck. Can't advance past the furthermost feet of your own side unless you're bound onto it. Scotland that time coming in at the ball as they saw it exposed.
And Troy Coker resented it, Simon.
He didn't like it at all. Carl Hogg, not the most intelligent piece of play there. Certainly going back in time, though, the great John Jeffrey and Calder, they are great magicians at doing that sort of thing, so he's just following the ancestry.
Yes, Carl Hogg under the tutelage of Jim Telfer, the coach of the 82 side here to Australia at the Melrose Club. He's a former captain of the under-21s and also played for Scotland B against France last year, but at this stage uncapped for Queensland, for Scotland. That opportunity may come later this year for the young 22-year-old flanker from Scotland. So Paul Carl with the chance to put Queensland back in the lead. And he's missed it. So back to the 22 for the restart of play. And Jeff Miller, this has been a problem that has plagued Queensland throughout 1992 in the absence of Michael Liner, someone who can consistently kick goals.
Yes, it's a shame because we'd be 6 points up had we been able to put them through. Matthew Peeney being relieved of the goal-kicking duties today. Carl hitting them well early on, but just missing the last couple.
So this scrum to pack down, 12 metres short of halfway. It's a Scotland feed. The game is all tied up here. 12 apiece. The third visit by Scotland to Ballymore to play Queensland. 16-13 in 1970. 18-7 to Queensland in 1982. Peeney has knocked the ball back. It's towed through by Scotland. Back comes Carosa. The chase is on by Hastings. And Queensland under pressure near their own goal line. Scotland arrive en masse. They'll be searching for good quick ball here. The advantage goes Scotland's way. Chalmers attacks on the blind side. He ran out of space. And Lanini is well taken in the tackle. But the penalty has gone back by referee Peter Marshall.
Yeah, Marshall's penalised Peter Slattery there. Slattery did fantastically well to get back on this ball. But he was trapped on the ground there. Did have his knees on the deck. And Marshall had his hand up straight away. Scottish penalty almost right in front.
With Hastings off the field, they don't lose too much with Craig Chalmers because he has also passed the century mark of test points in his 27 internationals. Craig Chalmers puts Scotland back in the lead at Ballymore. They lead by 15 points to 12, midway mark of the second half. Craig Chalmers struck it very, very well. And Scotland just get their nose back in front. And we're into the final 20 minutes here at Ballymore. And this game's still wide open. So Chalmers takes the ball from the kick-off and with very little angle, can't find touch. They counter-attack Queensland. Timmy Horan puts it high, puts the chase on as well. Horan arrived beautifully. He snatched the ball out of Logan's hand. Now Queensland, Slattery, putting it over the top. Knocked back by Little. Towed through. And the referee has ruled one of the Scottish players offside. But once again, the kick and chase by Tim Horan. Russell, his pace is incredible.
Yeah, remarkable pace, but it's not only his pace, it's his all-round game. What about that? He never took his eye off the ball. It was a lesson there for any youngster playing football about the art of keeping an eye on the ball. He's certainly a great player. There's no doubt that he's going to be the kingpin of the Australian side this year.
So a chance with Paul Carlos. We've watched this again, Simon. Brilliant pace, and he never takes his eye off the ball.
Great courage by Horan here. You just you take a lot of danger on yourself going up so hard and just really keeping your eye on the ball. But he didn't flinch at all.
The problem for Queensland, though, was when Slattery got the quick ball, there wasn't a 5'8" within Cooey. He had to hold on to delay and then go to chip over the top, which wasn't the option. Carl was missing. He's probably still in back play.
Paul Carl now He's missed his last 2 attempts. That's the angle that he is confronted with at the moment, being a left foot kicker. He should be able to hook this inside that right hand upright. Well, he's split them in half. And once again, we are back on level terms here at Ballymore. Scotland 15, Queensland 15. He struck it beautifully, Russell Fairfax.
Yeah, it was a marvellous kick. Left foot swinging around, it never deviated, right over the black dot, and Queensland back in this hunt now. I would imagine there'll be some field goals flying around the last 15 or so minutes.
Now the restart by Chalmers. It's been knocked forward by Scotland. I would have thought it was played forward by Queensland to start with.
Well, I think they called that a rebound. It came off the body without much arm in it, David, but it was right in front of the referee. He's done quite a good job today.
Andy Nicol complaining about that tunnel. There's a fair deal of poundage of meat in that front row, Simon.
I think he's complaining about the fact that Peter Slattery won't put the ball in, David.
Yeah, I think Peter Slattery's probably aiming the ball well in the second row then, but Andy Nicol, a very aggressive halfback, and he's been a real find for their Scottish team in the Five Nations this year.
We also replaced Nick Farr-Jones. Nick was injured during the World 15 series against the All Blacks. Now it goes back for Matthew Penny. He was under pressure of Wainwright. Towering kick downfield inside his own quarter line is Logan.
In fact, Logan was outside his own quarter line when his foot reached the ground. They've played the touch.
Under the new laws, we noticed Ken Logan took the ball outside and then took it into his 22. Under the new laws being introduced in June, no longer will he be able to gain ground with kicking the ball into touch on the full. Now Slattery, ball at his feet. Carl, away for Horan. They've had little room to move. He fed Smith beautifully. Smith up towards the quarter line. Good understanding between the three quarters of Queensland. They've got good ball back again. This time Coker runs like a three-quarter and takes it to the quarter line. Third phase ball for Queensland. They move it on the open side. Horan away for Smith. Stretch to the Scottish defence. Chalmers got across there. Now they move it against the left. Carl. Look to kick. Unloaded for Little. Away for Carozza. Good defence by Scotland. Coming across was the replacement fullback Logan. He lined him up magnificently and just bundled him into touch.
Very similar situation to that he experienced against Auckland, Paul Carozza, but that time everyone doing their job. 2 men on him. Fullback didn't deviate one moment, put the head down and drove straight in at the waist.
Kenny Logan, great tackle, and certainly Paul Carozza, a real replication of that Queensland-Auckland opportunity there. This time he's cut down 5 yards out.
And not just that, Jeff Miller. The tackle took him from 10 metres inside touch to over that touchline.
Yeah, it did, Fordo. They say that Peter Jorgensen's a frontliner for that vacant test position, but I think both wingers today, Damien Smith and Paul Carozza, have put a fair bit forward in the selection of that team.
And talking about selectors, they're on the far side of the field. The only people in the new stand sitting there with a bird's eye view of both Damien Smith on camera now and Paul Carozza. There they are, Jake Howard, Bob Templeton, Bob Dwyer, the coach, John Breen.
Brian O'Shea.
Boxhead O'Shea up there just joining the elite.
The brains trust of Australian rugby. So Milne to throw the ball in the line out. And if you look at their job they've done over the last 18 months, you would say they are the best selectors in the world, because Australia currently the world champions of rugby. And having seen that interstate clash last weekend, Chris Handy, there is enormous talent on board for selection in 92.
I was really impressed by a couple of players. Mick Murray in the back row for New South Wales, and also young Jorgensen did rather well. But it is a particularly good sign for Australian rugby.
Queensland put the shove on, trying to take one against the feed, but again, that scrum wheeling through that 90 degrees. And referee Peter Marshall left with no option but to pack the scrum down again, once again with the Scottish put in. Their scrum is under pressure 5 metres out from their goal line. The score's locked here at 15 points all. What a shove by Queensland. Now, Nickel with the ball. Stark at acting halfback. Now back for Peeney. The counter-attack by Queensland. Superb tackle from Hastings. Saw the ball jolted free. Now Wainwright. A chance now for Scotland. But the ball has been knocked on. Well, Ivan Tukalo has been out there waiting on the on that left wing. He scored 15 tries for Scotland in 35 internationals.
You can see the urgency in the Queensland backs when the ball gets out wide. They know that Stark and Tukalo are very quick on their feet.
And certainly John Connolly there was a little flash to him, looking a little concerned here. Time is running out. About 12 minutes to go, and it's 15 all.
I just wonder whether we'll see the drop goal. There's John Connolly, the drop goal from Paul Carl. Wilson detached. Sam Scott Young getting it back for Slattery. Away for Smith again. Smith took on the defence, laid it back nicely for Queensland. Slattery away for Carl. Now a chance. They've got the numbers. But it's been untidy play in the Queensland backline. That's better play. Carl looping away for Horan. Did he take the right option? He gets it back for Sam Scott Young. And now Queensland only 10 metres out. They're looking for the quick ball. Now Crowley at halfback for Queensland. He should stay in the front row after that pass.
He told us the other day after his try he had all the skills, but I think it's back to the drawing board for Dan Crowley. Queensland crucified a very promising situation there. Good defence by Scotland. They throw themselves at everything. As soon as the tackle player goes to the ground and releases, they are able to switch on and just zero in at the ball. About 12 minutes of play remaining here at Ballymore. Queensland put in. Carl standing on the right-hand side of this scrum. The other back's line to the left. Slattery away for Horan. A little kick over the top. Little was held back. That should be a penalty. Jeff Miller down in front of you.
Yeah, definitely held back, David. I would have given the penalty. He hasn't, though, but it's still a great attacking position for Queensland.
Well, Jason Little certainly held back. The planned move with Horan with a little chip kick.
And you would say that he's quick enough to make it to a chip over the top like that. Maybe different if it were a front rower.
Now, Queensland holding steady at the back. Now they wheel it back. Spoiling play by Scotland.
Amazing situation here. Queensland too keen to get the back row move going. Took the pressure off the scrum and Scotland just pushed through. Queensland just can't afford to relax. Before any back row move begins, they've got to have a steady scrum.
Well, Chris, it was quite interesting to note the comment from John Brass. He said normally in years gone by, a build-up for a match against Scotland was one of the, or against the touring side, one of the highlights, but said there was a strange feeling in the Queensland rim this week that Scotland was just another game.
Well, I suppose with the quality of the Super 6 series, David, and eventually, say, the Super 10, every team in it is a virtual test match. And the preparation that Queensland have made, and also New South Wales for that matter, is a full test match preparation. Nothing differs. And you do tend to get a little bit tired of it. It's hard pumping yourself up every weekend, particularly for an interstate clash, and then be able to, and then to go on to meet a top international team the week after. You think, when is it going to finish?
Well, conversely, Russell Fairfax for the Scottish side, when you consider this match, New South Wales, they in fact, you could say we'll play 4 test matches on this tour, the 2 against Australia and 2 against the great provincial sides.
Yes, a very tough program for the Scotland boys. Only 8 matches on this tour, and 2 of those are test matches, and 2 of them against the strongest provincial sides in the world. It is a very tall order, and whoever sat on the itinerary for the Scotland side, I'm sure there'll be some questions asked when they return home.
Well, they've got the emerging Wallabies too, Simon, very short next week in Hobart.
And the emerging Wallabies too, with that emerging star, Peter Fitzsimons, down there joining the other side.
Subtle serve there from Simon Poiterman to his whole New South Wales teammate. Peter Fitzsimons, now another good two-handed catch by McCall. He's been one of the stars of this Queensland side today. Now surely there may be some tempers flare out of this one. There's a lot of work going down there. Now John Eales resented something.
What referee Marshall's missing is that in that driving maul situation, their players are obliged to stay on their feet. Scotland have pulled down most of the driving mauls. It's been quite hard enough on them.
As the old Dave Brockhoff saying, it's like a dockyard brawl down there. There's players all over the place.
And in that situation, it's quite understandable, Simon, that tempers do fray.
Yeah, John Eales especially, he's a very clean and skillful player. And I think he's very frustrated by, well, a great Scottish defence. It's cunning, but it's great.
Well, certainly a great confidence booster, Jeff, for this Scottish side. They did go in as the grave underdogs here this afternoon, as we see some attention there to Dan Crowley.
They've scrambled today, Fordo, and they've done it well, really. They weren't expected to do it this well. It's still a draw at this stage, 15 all. As they play more games, they'll gain in confidence and also match fitness, and they'll be a tougher proposition.
So the battle-scarred Scottish and Queensland pack down there at the moment, ready for yet another confrontation. Queensland with the put in, so this Scottish scrum is going to have to hold steady again against an average of 17 stone a man. Again, referee Marshall not happy. Front row collapsing. Look at big Kenny Milne, born to be a hooker, although his teammate Damien Cronin said yesterday now getting in more to prop forward proportions. He said by the end of the tour he'll have to end up playing prop forward. Now that's better play by Queensland. Good understanding of the backs, but very committed and courageous defence by Scotland. The Scottish defence read that superbly.
Scott's back row was just really flying across field that time. Craig Chalmers did well. The loop around. Still this pressure mounts. Queensland to be better taking Scotland on under the posts in their forwards. One wonders how long referee Marshall can go on simply blowing up scrums which go to the ground. It has happened with monotonous regularity today and needs to be taken in hand.
Now Slattery with the feed. Now there's all sorts of... Nicol and Slattery are resetting each other. And Scotland bring the scrum down on this side again. That was Peter Wright. That's a better scrum. Away for Carl, looping with Slattery and Sam Scott Young. Terrific defence again by Scotland. Now Queensland desperately trying to secure the ball. They move on the open side. Carl, long pass Little, nowhere to go. He changes the point of attack and takes play straight to the Scottish defence. Now they want quality ball again, Queensland. They have numbers on the right. They come on the left-hand side. And again, an uncustomary error by Tim Horan. But really, you've got to give credit to the Queensland, to the Scottish backs, because they have put pressure on Little and Horan right through this match.
There's no doubting that the Scottish, both spirit and defence, and also they're really thinking about where they're going. They've got their patterns right. The back row are getting there, and certainly Andy Nicol too, an integral part of this this defence.
So this time it will be a Scottish feed inside their own quarter line. They'll be looking for young Logan or Chalmers to drive it deep. It'll come to Chalmers, angling it towards touch, and finds it. It takes play to within 10 metres of halfway. Well, this is going to give the Scottish coach, Richie Dixon, plenty of heart, because I think before the match started, Chris, they were ready to concede this one.
Well, talking to David Soul before the game, conceding wasn't even in his vocabulary. He was expecting the boys to bounce back out. Different side, different circumstances. The pride of Scotland was on the line. So far from home, the furthest field from Murrayfield almost. They wanted to put in a great performance.
Well, it's the only ground in the Southern Hemisphere they've actually won a test match, and that happened here in 1982. It was Bob Dwyer's first foray into the Australian coaching job. It was the day that Australia left out Paul McLean and Roger Gould. It was a decision they were to regret, because Gould and McLean came back the next week, Chris, at the Sydney Cricket Ground. And I think Gouldy scored 2 tries and Paul McLean kicked a record number of points.
Yes, I think they scored 28 points between them on that occasion. But David Soul, the captain of this team here, undefeated on Ballymore. It's been a very kind ground to him. He'd be trying to get through this game in the same way.
So it's all tied up here at Ballymore. 15 points apiece. We'll be back in just a moment. So the rain just tumbling down here. We've got around about 5 or 6 minutes of play remaining at Ballymore. It's been a seesawing match. You can see the umbrellas up at the far side, but the people firmly rugged up in the McLean stand. Not so lucky at the Castlemaine stand at the northern end of the ground, nor up on 4X Hill, the famous landmark of this Ballymore ground in Brisbane. So this scrum will pack down 10 metres inside Scotland's end of the ground. It's a Queensland feed, and time ticking away for both sides if they are going to snare victory here this afternoon. It's been a tremendously committed performance in defence by Scotland. Our cameraman doing it tough as well. So too are these packs of forwards. Now Carl hoisting it high for the chase by Horan. Pressure on the fullback Logan. Now that player was offside for Scotland, but the referee has allowed play to go on. But again, the chase by Horan really put pressure on Logan.
Horan's not only fast, he's intimidating on his run. To see a guy of his size coming through, be quite a worry. And Andy Nicol back there, he's having a great game.
Lawton's throw to the line out, right on the quarter line, into the final 4 minutes of play here at Ballymore. Slattery. Horan was under pressure because Carl was in two minds. He's not in two minds on this occasion. The first thought was for the drop goal, but he was wide of the target. So as predicted, Russell Fairfax, you thought at the dying stages these two fly halves would engage themselves in a drop goal kicking competition, but with Queensland with that breeze at their back, it's all in Queensland's favour.
Yes, you would have thought that, but I'm surprised that they've waited this long. The ball has got a little bit greasy, the surface is a little bit more slippery, and the shot's a little bit more difficult. It would have been advisable to take the chances a bit earlier.
Now Chalmers hoisting it high, pressure on Matthew Penny. Ball into touch on that far side. Now the throw to the line out, just inside Scotland's end of the ground. Carl onto the right foot this time. Tukalo knocks it back, giving it back to Logan. He's inside his own quarter line with a reasonable angle and takes play once again up to the 10-metre line, still in Scottish territory.
Both sides here in the dying minutes really need to pull out all stops to try and get the points. They just can't try and kick the ball downfield aimlessly. They've got to go for the high ball, a quick break.
Now this could be Queensland's last throw of the dice. Their throw to the line out. Slattery, beautifully picked up by Carl, away for Little. But these two centres of Queensland have been under pressure right throughout this match. Hastings and Lenine have done a terrific job in defence. Now Slattery just putting it in behind the Scottish defence. Tukalo goes back and allows the ball to go into touch just outside his own quarter line.
Yeah, smart work by Slattery. He's put Queensland on attack. They've got the dominating line out here. A good chance to win the ball and a last opportunity for Queensland to score the points to win the game.
See there in the background on the newsstand, the Chivas Regal sign, the company that has sponsored the Scottish Tour and the New Zealand Series in 1992, the Australian Rugby Union. And it's great to have them aboard in this representative season. So the kick takes play up towards halfway. John Connolly, he's had a perfect record in the last couple of years against touring sides, but may today, Chris, have to share the honours with Richie Dixon.
Well, that's right. He wouldn't be happy with the unforced error rate of the Queensland side. He said it at half-time. They've had the opportunity. They have more possession in this game than they've had most of the year. They've won rucks and mauls, line-outs. They've had scrum feeds and also penalties, but they haven't used what ball they got intelligently.
Well, again, another unforced error there by Queensland, and that's given Scotland, well, I thought a chance maybe to counter-attack, but Nicol has put the ball into touch, so maybe he's given Queensland just that flickering hope of pulling this game out of the fire. Scotland up against it, running into a very strong breeze. So with the half-time hooter about to sound and Queensland with their throw to the line-out, the full-time hooter about to sound, Queensland with the throw to the line-out, there is a possibility, but David Soul cleans up well for Scotland, and they will breathe a sigh of relief on that occasion. It'll go back for Chalmers, who will pump it downfield again. Now it won't find touch. Matthew Peaney hoists it high. Well, he would not have wanted that. Another unforced error by Queensland, just when they wanted to apply the pressure.
Scotland using this opportunity to pull a short line out.
They have knocked it on. So the scrum feed will be to Queensland. I thought maybe Scotland may have come up with that.
Says it's come off a Scottish hand at the front of the line out. Knocked it on, last opportunity.
Slattery. Carl, the kick and chase. Little and Horan on the chase. Oh, it's well tidied up by Tukalo. Tukalo links up. Stark taken in the tackle. Half the full-time hooter has sounded. Players under pressure of children on the ground at the moment, but finally Peter Marshall calls a halt to the proceedings, and the honours have been shared in a bruising encounter here at Ballymore. The Queensland coach John Connolly, his dream of continuing with success against touring sides, has been shared today with his opposing coach Richie Dixon.